looking into what Catholicism is, what's been the most surprising thing that you've come across, whether like good surprising or bad surprising? Either one.
Yeah, I've thought about this. I think one of the most surprising things is how many questions that I didn't know I had have been answered through the process. Um, Two, specifically the Catechism in a year, I've been surprised at how little Mary shows up on a day to day basis. I expected Mary to show up literally every single day. Um, because Mary is such a big dividing line between Protestants and Catholics, I was ready to pay a lot of attention to Mary in the Catechism. Okay, so I have this Excel sheet where I opened the index to the Catechism, and literally every single mention of Mary, I listed that from the index, what the reference is into and which paragraph it's in. I have this entire list in that Excel sheet, and I think there's like 160 something mentions of Mary, and that boiled down to about 72 paragraphs. There are 2,875 paragraphs in the Catechism. 72 we're talking about Mary. That's like 4% of the Catechism. That has without a doubt been the most surprising thing is I thought Mary would be everywhere every day. And I've loved learning about Mary, but I also am happy to have that fact sort of in my back pocket because I'm like, guess what? It's not all about Mary.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's something that is surprising a lot of the time. Like I know when I started like kind of checking out Catholicism through my brother who became Catholic, um, yeah, I was shocked that there was so much scripture like at Mass. I
Yeah.
was shocked that like it really was very centered around Jesus. And yes, Mary is important in the faith, but um she isn't God, right? Like she isn't the
Mhm.
one we're worshiping, and um, yeah, it's kind of cool to have that perspective that it really is centered around Jesus.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. What we believe about Mary, the Catholic Church believes about Mary, is based on what it believes about Jesus. That makes everything so much easier to even approach. So I've really liked, yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, well, and we can kind of, I had the question about kind of going into Mary and your thoughts on Mary, because that really is a
Yeah.
hot topic, and
Yep.
people want to know, especially like, um, on my channel, there are people who are not Catholic and just interested, or not Catholic and don't like Catholics and just love to comment on my videos, which is great. But there is this like rub about Mary. And one of the things that I kind of, figured out on my journey is going into the history is just like you said, like what a lot of what the church teaches about Mary is really about like protecting the like who Jesus is,
The
like the fact that
identity.
he's fully
Yeah.
divine, fully man, and all of that. And you wouldn't realize that unless you were like in that historical time with a
Yeah.
bunch of people questioning these things about Jesus, and you guys and them being like, no, 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 that's not it. Like this is why, and this is Mary, and this is why we believe this about her. So it's you're kind of pulled out of that context.
Mhm.
So it makes a lot more sense to like see it in the historical context.
Yes, absolutely. Which just not everybody has even time for. I think we're at such a weird place in church history because we are 500 years past the Reformation. We are where we are, and people are very set in their ways. That's how being human goes, and we've got a lot of work to do. Now, when it comes to Mary, I my thoughts on Mary started changing the year before I even thought about Catholicism, like I said in my last video. Um, and there was this moment where I was learning about female fertility and the fact that, like, a woman is born with all of her eggs. And for some reason, because I'm a lifelong church kid, when I found out that fun little fact, one of the first thoughts I had was about Mary and Jesus. I was like, wait, are you telling me that Mary was born with the egg that would turn into Jesus? And I just remember thinking, well, that is too cool. Because I just imagined her as a child, like growing and learning to walk and playing. And, you know, then there's this part of Jesus that's already in her. Then I shared that thought with several people, and the excitement wasn't particularly returned. They're like, "Yeah, Anna, that's cool." I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's really cool." But then I got to thinking, okay, well, I don't exactly know how this played out. I don't know that there was an egg involved at all, but her womb was there. So she was born with the womb that would carry Jesus, and that's pretty cool. So I just had this vision of Mary as even a young child walking around with this womb that would one day carry the Messiah, like her going with her family to the Passover feast and, taking part in that and feeding the literal body and womb that would carry the Messiah they were waiting on. And I just started looking at her very, very differently from that sort of point of view. And part of it felt silly because I'm like, nobody has told me that this is correct. But something about that just really spoke to me. And then later in that year, when I went through the Bible study that took me through my entire Bible, I was literally captivated by the Ark of the Covenant. And like I said, it was like the first time that I had heard about it. And it floored me and it captivated me. All these things, there were several different little things that laid the groundwork for me to just hear, not necessarily accept, but to hear Marian teachings and dogma without going, whoa, just pump the brakes, that's ridiculous. If that sort of makes sense, it's not like I had these thoughts in the back of my mind and then I'd hear Marian dogma and go, well, yep, now I'm going to be Catholic. But it's just like I had a different posture towards Mary than I had previously. And I think one of the most important things about Mary that I think about is at some point in this journey, I did listen to several priests who are exorcists and how much like demonic spirits hate Mary. And I'm like, if this is true, if the enemy hates Mary that much, and he couldn't get us at Jesus, he couldn't get us at that simplicity of the gospel. Where was that next level where he was going to attack us and make sure that we were divided on? It makes a lot of sense to me that he would attack our thoughts about Mary and keep us divided on Mary. And that's something that I just keep in my mind, and I'm like, that's going to be really important to me going forward because anything to make the enemy mad, right?
Mhm, yeah. Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I have also listened to exorcists who talk about that. And I always think like I grew up in an environment. I wouldn't say we hated Mary, but like she was nothing special. Like we
No,
wouldn't bother talking about her, you know? And and when I heard this, I was like, man, there are people who hate Mary out there and they're sharing the opinion of demons. You know what I mean? Like they're on the side of the
yes,
demons with hating Mary. And that's probably not the best side to be on.
no, it's not. Now, when it comes to people who are truly Christian and their negligence of Mary, mm, yeah, just sort of they want to neglect Mary because they want to uphold the sufficiency of Christ and the divinity of Christ. I'm like, if what we believe about, if what the Catholic Church teaches about Mary is true, she's just fine with that. 'Cause she's like, as long as your eyes are on my son, I don't care. Um, but when people take it a little bit too far, and I'm like, why would you just take your time to be that hateful toward the woman that Christ chose to be his mom? Um, I don't know. From my background, Mary wasn't necessarily disrespected. But I feel like it was highlighted that she was completely normal. Just but this was in an attempt to let us see that God can do anything through anybody. It doesn't matter who you are, but like God can work miracles in you. And I feel like that is where that's the category that Mary fell into in my background.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like a lot of people have that middle ground of like where what you said, but like they respect Mary and they honor her. Well, I won't say honor her, but they like appreciate her for her role
Hmm.
in God's plan, but they're not like hateful, but they're not like gonna
Yeah.
uplift her necessarily. So I think that's pretty common. Um, I feel like when my particular thoughts about Mary or my view of Mary really changed when I listened to um, this this woman who was previously Jewish and was now a nun, and she like goes around doing talks and stuff, and very interesting because she really talks about like the Jewish perspective of the Christian faith in general. Um, but anyway, she really described Mary as this Jewish mother. You know, like she loves you. She wants to be in your business. She wants to like have you meet her son. You know, like she's the one who she cares about you, you know, in a motherly way. You know, not
Mhm.
in it and not like in a way that replaces God or makes her God or makes her anything like close to God, but like she's this Jewish mother who just wants to love up on like the kids, you know, the kids in the kingdom and wants them all to meet her son and fall in love with her son. So
Mhm.
I just thought that that was kind of a funny perspective because you don't really hear that a lot. And just having this um, like previously Jewish woman kind of talking about her experience with mothers in that environment and then like relating it to Mary. It was just kind of a a way to like humanize her. Like
Yeah.
make it feel like, you know, you could meet her in the street. You know what I mean? Like she's
Yeah.
just like a mom, you know?
Mhm.
So I think that's it's fun to like kind of see her through that lens of like seeing her as a mother. So
Yeah, because from a sort of a modern Protestant view, she can be a vessel and nothing more. And you can just dismiss her from the story. And it's not like she has this pivotal and I don't know how to describe her role in the redemption story, but it's big. Um, it's not salvific, for especially from a Protestant standpoint, but it's still important because God still chose her, even if He can do whatever He wants to do, and He could bring Jesus in whatever He wants, in whatever way He wanted to. He still chose Mary. It's still important. It's still important to think about, even if you don't arrive at a Catholic view of Mary. It's just what God did through Mary and her faith. Her faith is so interesting to contemplate.